I don't have a whole lot of time. Former employee. I was let go on a medical discharge about a week ago, and I've kind of been running across the country. Oh man, I don't know where to start. They'll triangulate on this position really, really soon.
So you can't spend a lot of time on the phone. So give us something quick.
Okay. Okay. What we're thinking of as aliens are they're extra-dimensional beings that an earlier precursor of the space program made contact with. They are not what they claim to be. They have infiltrated a lot of aspects of the military establishment, particularly the Area 51. The disasters that are coming, the government knows about them, and there's a lot of safe areas in this world that they could begin moving the population to now. They want the major population centers wiped out so that the few that are left will be more easily controllable. I started getting...
This is why we have backup systems. Anything can happen, and this is another perfect example of that. On the run, trying to get things done in a 5-hour program, anything can occur, and we have had... My transmitter has had an apparent massive heart attack. Or something happened to it, or somebody did something to it. And I will not mention the alternative means we're doing to get... accomplishing to get a signal up there right now, or to the network, let me put it that way, but pretty weird, and it certainly occurred at a pretty weird time. Okay, are you an Area 51 employee?
At one time.
In the past?
In the past.
Years ago. Can you talk?
For a few minutes.
Tell us what you can tell us.
Well, I've got myself fairly covered right now. About your interruption, the last caller...
Yes.
I don't think you're going to hear from him again.
I got that distinct impression. Now, you guys didn't hear the whole call, because here's what was going on. Halfway through that call, or somewhere through that call, I have no way of knowing, we apparently went off the air. The transmitter blew up, or whatever happened.
Yeah, you got a pulse.
And my hotline was ringing, so I don't know at what point during that call we actually lost it. I don't know.
You lost it. He was just starting to, cry.
Yeah?
And the whole thing just went dead. It was when he was...
And then how long was it before you got to hear audio again?
About 2 minutes.
2 minutes?
Yeah.
Oh, man, I bet silence alarms went off everywhere, all across the country. Okay, anyway, listen, why do you think we'll never hear from him again?
Because he was on the phone too long.
You know, if you'd heard the end of the call, I'll tell you. I'll tell everybody right now. The end of the call, it got worse and worse. He was crying, and he screamed. He screamed, and the line went dead. And at that point, I think I went to another call, and I answered the hotline and found out we'd been blown off the air somehow. I've got a guest in the studio right now. He's confirming. He's shaking his head. Everything I'm telling you is exactly true. This guy screamed, and the line went dead. I wish you could have heard the end of it.
I can imagine the end of it.
You can?
Oh, yeah. Very easily.
What just happened there with the transmission?
Oh, well, what happened is the transmitter here blew its cookies in some way. Something knocked us off the air, and we're on a backup system now.
It's the government, or...
I don't know.
It has to be something, though.
Well, did you hear... Now, you tell me, because you were listening.
That was awful strange.
There was a really weird guy on the air when it went off?
Yeah. Real weirded out.
Like going sort of sounding paranoid, schizophrenic?
Yeah. Like crying and everything.
Yeah. And how far into the conversation was it when it went off?
Just a couple, about 15, 20 seconds, I'd say.
Oh, you guys missed, you really missed a call then, and I've got a feeling somebody didn't want you to hear it.
Yeah. Because it was really strange. All of a sudden, I'm hearing Mark Furman, and
That's right. Well, the network, of course, went immediately to a backup tape while we tried to figure out what blew up here. So that's what you heard happen. And then we're now on a backup link system.
I can tell you who you can call, man. It is actually my first name. I actually lived there for a time. That's the area where I was living. I've been ordered to discuss S4 tonight. There was occasions, but they were not meant to be flown in the air. That what you're seeing in the air is not coming from Area 51. I mean, you know, like UFOs and all that. None of that's coming from Area 51. Those things out there are broken. Probably were in various states of disrepair, in my opinion. Like, you know, where you have junk. But if you've got junk like that, you're not going to take it to a landfill. Would Earth in a parallel timeline do? The triangular objects were hand-me-downs that were no longer needed, and they were given to the people in the other timeline, who then turned against the people that originally gave them to them.
So they could be wandering around in our streets now, ETs, and I see.
Well, you know, a few more than they used to be. There's about...
How about if I call them EDs? Extra dimensionals.
Yeah, but see, if you could grill one of them, let's say you had a best case scenario, you had them hypnotized, sodium pentothal, reverse speech, everything. And you got everything out of them. Yeah. You would never find out who was giving them the orders. It's not me, by the way, because they're getting programmed from a planet in this timeline, in space.
There's a place called Kenitra, which was a United States U.S. Navy base. At the time, from 1961 until 1970, it was a United States Navy base. But after that, Congress discovered that this base was there. They decided to shut it down. And the United States government never did. They kept it going, and basically what they did is just turn it over to the Royal Air Force. And Kenitra had a bunch of satellite dishes, and I'm talking like, if you saw the movie Contact, you're talking about dishes that were lined up, probably say about 30 dishes, and that's in Morocco, Kenitra. But not only was there about 30 dishes in Kenitra, yeah, there's another town which is like a little a village, and it was probably about 60 miles away from Kenitra. Kenitra is north of Rabat, Morocco. It's called Sidi Yahya, and they had another 30 dishes there. Now, why would the United States government or the United States Navy have all these dishes? They did, at one point, my father was telling me back in 1970 during the Apollo missions, that these dishes relayed the Apollo missions. That's one use, but what's the other use? It was very interesting, and I was thinking of Area 51 being something so secretive, and Congress did not know about the base that is still run by the American military.
You are not an Area 51 employee?
Here's how you find out. Ask them how they pay for their meals. Ask them what color the second door is they go in, and ask them how they get there.
You are an Area 51 employee?
Well, that remains to be seen. Just ask them those three questions. They're rather unique.
You are an Area 51 employee, aren't you?
I'm afraid I can't do that. Have a good evening.
Well, all right, future Area 51 employees, I now have three critical questions.
There was, right in the middle of this clearing was a triangular-shaped kind of a glass-looking object.
Oh, my.
It's kind of a laser shooting up just above the tree line.
Yeah.
And I was sitting on the back, and I could see it all. When this guy came down in the clearing, he made a U-turn real quick, kind of did a fishtail.
This would be our MIB, I presume.
No, the guy that I was riding with. And as we made this fishtail, we could see three people kind of along the perimeter there, reaching into the side of their coat pockets, like reaching for a gun and stuff.
Yeah.
And never really dawned on me till recently that, and I heard this man in black, but all those guys were in black. And that was the weirdest light I've ever seen in my life. And this is like in 1968.
Well, you're lucky to be alive to tell the story now.
Probably.
Do you know what ENT is? ENT is a military base buried in the mountains in Colorado. And it's a nuclear safe, one of those dug way deep in the ground.
Yes.
I'm not sure, probably...
a hardened site.
Yes. Early 60s, maybe 61, 62, I was a young boy, 9, 10 years old, and my dad came home from work with a book on flying saucers.
Yes.
Ent had brought a bunch of paper to be destroyed because they didn't want it out in the public's hands.
And your dad brought it home?
And my dad brought one home.
Not supposed to do that, you know.
And I thumbed through this thing for months, fascinated at the hundreds and hundreds of official spaceship. I don't know what happened to the book. Your show has just brought this book back, and I don't know that, if anybody else has.
Is your dad still alive?
My dad is still alive. I will call him and ask him.
Remember now, I have one line set aside only for Area 51 employees.
We've heard so much tonight about the people that are trying to uncover the truth about the UFO scenario, and I was wondering if it would be possible for you to get somebody from the other side.
Who would you suggest I would have on?
Well, obviously the person that we'd most want to talk to would not come forward with their name. So it would seem like it would have to be somebody that wanted to speak anonymously. And
well, I've got somebody like that who, as a matter of fact, there's this guy who claimed that he was inside Area 51, a worker in Area 51, and he sent me several messages over a period of about 3 days and then stopped. And I'm waiting to hear from him. I don't know why he stopped. We did post his letter on the internet. Now, that might have scared him off. I didn't know that was going to be posted. Apparently, he sent, or somebody sent a copy of that letter.
My name's Rich. I'm from Flagstaff.
Yes, sir.
I just wanted to call because I'm a dream traveler. I've been one for a few years, and I had this dream a couple of years ago that some dreams, are just, they aren't all that powerful, but this one it felt like I was out of my body. When my dream started, I was in my bed, and I got pulled out of my body by aliens, actually, and they kind of looked like E.T., which is, they were short and they had long necks and the kind of E.T.-shaped head. This is the weird part. They took me to this planet that they said was where the asteroid belt is now, beyond Mars.
Xenon.
Yeah, they said that they took me there, and they took me back in the past. And there were all these cities all over the place, and they were showing me, it was really overwhelming because they gave me like all this history and stuff, and of course I don't remember any of that, but because it was just like information overload. But
right.
They gave me all this information and showed me their history and all this stuff, and they told me that there was life on Mars and on this planet, and that there was a war between these two planets, and they had developed this technology and all this stuff, and I guess that the people on Mars were really, really aggressive, and the only reason that the people on this other planet had to develop any weapons at all was to defend themselves against these people on Mars. Well, the people on Mars developed something that could actually blow up a planet. And
boy, you do have dreams, don't you?
Yeah, I guess so. And it escalated and kaboom, planet gone. And I'm not exactly sure what happened to Mars, but obviously something bad. And the people that some people got away and from both planets and supposedly came here, and they didn't really tell me what happened then. But then I was just kind of sitting there on the planet going, well, okay, how do I get back to my place? I was kind of in the past on another planet.
That's the part that I have always worried about, getting back.
Yeah, and I was a little worried. And
not only were you in another place, but you were in another time.
Another time, yeah.
And Albert Taylor the other day warned about that.
Yeah.
He said, that's hard.
Exactly, and I was a little worried, and they said, well, don't worry, they told me to look at these 3 stars and to stare at them and to focus all my energy on them.
My wife and I, we have been rock hounders, I guess you could say, looking for gold and rocks and things like that, and we have been up near the Area 51. We had passed over the Area 51 area where it says no trespassing past this point.
You're not supposed to go past that.
Well, we did. Well, we met these people.
Black and Hut Security is, I think, the people that still take care of security up there, and they're really efficient at what they do.
Yes. They escorted us off the property.
I'm even wondering how much more I should be talking about this tonight.
and they escorted us off the property with
automatic weapons.
Right.
Yep. Well, that's the way it's done. All right, sir. Thank you very much for the call.
I used to work security problems for Site 51. I was one of the men they called to close gaps.
Excuse me? Close caps?
Gaps.
Gaps. Leaks. I am going to ask you a question.
Okay.
In the course of your work, doing that kind of wet work,
yes,
were you ever required to or take a life in the course of your duties? Don't let those silence alarms go off now.
Okay.
Do you regret what you had to do?
I believed in what I was doing.
Yeah, I guess you would have to. You couldn't do it, could you?
No, there came a time when I walked away. When I was doing the work, I believed wholeheartedly.
I learned one hard lesson tonight already.
Yeah, well, like I said, I've got myself covered.
Anyway, this is Nick from Oak Harbor, Washington.
Yes.
I am near Whidbey Naval Air Station here, and I worked on that base for almost 7 years. We have seen the silent craft that you've talked about.
Triangular craft, sir?
The silent ones. I couldn't, yes.
Huh.
My wife and I, well, it's a long story. Actually, I'm blind, but my wife saw them. We weren't more than a couple, 300 yards from them.
So you're relying then on her description, physical description?
Yes, but I was there to vouch that there was no noise. She saw them very plainly for, about 2 or 3 minutes.
Boy, of all the times that it would be hard to be sightless, that would be one of them, huh?
I agree. They have areas up here that are posted, no photographs beyond this point, and many areas on the base that, of course, are more or less restricted. Well, some of that I understand, but when I worked there, they had this giant underground construction going on, humongous kind of earth movers and things in here.
All underground?
Yes, sir. Well, this is so ridiculous you're not going to believe it, but it's the truth. When we would ask anybody out there, of course, they would deny that anything spectacular was being built, and yet we could see these huge earth movers. They're too big to miss. I'm an entertainer, so I didn't work directly with that, but I worked at one of the clubs there, and every time they would scoop out a great big scoop of earth, we could feel the whole club shake, and they always denied that anything special was going on.
What do you think they were doing?
I'm not sure, but I do know that there is must be a rather large underground complex there. And whether it's a safety hardened site like you have in the mountains back there, or what it is, I don't know for sure. But
and how long ago was this?
This would have been in 90 and 91.
Okay.
This project extended over some period of time.
If I go to my own live studio cam, which is not live right now, what the last picture taken was before all of this began to happen, and I'm looking at it right now. Interesting. You can see me on a telephone, and you can see my mystery guest in the background. Before the program is over today, I will tell you who he is. You can see the moment of the catastrophic moment was captured. The last studio live cam shot that we sent to the net, and you'll see me sort of panicked on the phone, and you'll see my guest making notes like crazy. Man, what a night. Broadcast. There's nothing like live broadcasting in the entire world. There's nothing like live broadcasting, ladies and gentlemen. Nothing. Now, I just talked to my boss at the network, Alan Corbett, and he said, in 35 years of broadcasting, this is the weirdest event that I've ever heard. And I second that. There are presently engineers racing to the network, probably already there at this hour. On the first-time caller line, you're on the air. Hello.
It makes you wonder about some of these people on Area 51, physical trail, the verbal trail, what they do with this. Well, I was down at an air show in Oklahoma. They had a stealth fighter pilot down there, and it was after the Gulf War.
Yeah.
And a lot of people asked him questions, and he was saying how they were on the cutting edge of technology, being able not to be tracked by radar. And he said that they are restricted to what they know, but yet they do know quite a bit about the aircraft. As people were filing in and asking questions, I'm kind of a skeptic, and I asked him, well, what's going to happen, with all these secrets of America being, bought from Russians and whatnot? What will they do with you with what you know? I said, are they going to set you up on a Caribbean island and, give you the royal treatment?
Yeah.
And I mean, his tone changed, and he said, first of all, I served my country, and I'd never do anything like that. And it was almost like I struck a nerve, like, is this something that, maybe makes him wonder, too, that, when they release him from fighter duty, what are they going to do with him? So, it makes you wonder, like that guy saying that he took care of gaps.
Gaps,
Yeah, what's the deal? I
think what he referred to as gaps end up being lumps in the desert.
Oh, it's Victoria, Canada.
Victoria, Canada. All right. Welcome to the program. Pretty weird, huh?
Yeah, I just want to, don't know if you know, but your international feed's gone down too up here. Yeah, well, I'm not hearing you guys from up here in Canada, but I can hear KIRO from Seattle.
From Seattle. So you're not hearing us in Canada? What station would you normally be hearing it on?
I'd normally be hearing it on CFAX.
CFAX.
Hello, Mr. Bell. I'm security.
For Area 51?
For Area 51.
Currently?
Currently.
Aren't you risking quite a bit by talking to us?
Oh, no. No, because professional cleaners, they dig a lot of holes in the desert.
I don't think I like that term. What do you clean?
Well, I use a lot of acid. I dig a lot of holes.
You dig a lot of holes?
Yeah.
And I bet you don't let the little things bother you, huh?
No, you can't.
Let's see. How can I dredge the truth from you? How can I know you're telling me the truth? How long have you been doing this job?
1990. I was in some Gulf War operations, things like that.
How'd you get picked for this job?
Well, rigorous training, various governmental issues that you have to know. A lot of brain work, mostly.
Got any idea why I was tossed off the air like that?
I have a good idea. We worked with some things, some different satellite operations in the Gulf War where we cut down certain transmissions. I have no idea what happened tonight. I wouldn't want to say what happened tonight, but I don't think the caller will be calling back, although I had nothing to do with that.
You're the second one to say that.
Well, something's been done, and things will continue to happen for national security. I mean, people need to know certain things on a need-to-know basis.
And otherwise they don't need to know them, huh?
Yes. Yes, sir.
I was an airborne ranger in the Army for 18 years. And one of our assignments at times were to try to penetrate the security around some of these secret bases.
Like Area 51?
Yes, exactly like Area 51.
In other words, you would be given the assignment of trying, kind of like a computer hacker tries to get into the Pentagon by their permission. You, with their permission, would try to break in and breach their security.
Yes, this is right.
Cool. How did you do?
Oh, well, we had about a 40% success rate the first time.
You've got to be kidding.
No,
That's horrible. You mean to say...
It was pretty sloppy. But
so, in other words, an enemy agent, if that's what you were, would have at least a 40% chance
of breaking in. Okay, now you got to remember, this was like 15 years ago.
Yes.
Okay, the last time we tried, which was like 5 years ago.
Yes.
We were successful about 9% of the time. They've stepped up their security immensely. They have ground sensors. And you talk about your night vision scopes. Well, they got some that will probably put this one to shame.
Oh, I know.
And they really stepped it up. Now, for a base that's not there...
Area 51?
Right.
Not there.
Not supposed to be there. They got some amazing security measures there.
I know. They have ground sensors. They have, as you point out, night vision. They have helicopters with infrared and heat sensing.
That's right.
And I'm, there are people that, they try, and they've made it in, a few of them. And a lot of them, of course, sit in jails.
Yeah, because it's a federal offense.
That's right. Now, there's two ways of looking at Area 51. One is that our country has a right to a really, really secret place where we develop things like the F-117, that kind of thing.
That's right. The F-117, the B-1B, the B-1C.
Sure. But I mean, all of that is now like the Model T compared to what we've got.
Exactly. And
then there's one other little factor, and this is where a lot of people begin to say, I want to know more, and that is, they think there's been extraterrestrial contact. They think that technology has been transferred to the U.S. government because of some kind of deal with them, and that technology is being tested at Area 51, and there is some evidence to indicate that might be so.
There's a lot of...
Call toll-free, 1-800-618... No, wait a minute. Hold it.
You cannot say that word on the air.
Okay,
that is one of the 7 deadly words the FCC doesn't like. So you saw some weird fertilizer. You saw some weird poop.
Yeah.
You know, just modify it a little bit, all right.
Just as soon as you ask what it might be, I mean, you're immediately taken off of any assignment you might be on and shipped to someplace like Anchorage, Alaska.
Anchorage isn't that bad. Now, Thule was not one of the favorite tourist sites. But look, let me ask you what you saw. What did you see? Can you tell us?
Well, you hear people talking about particle beam and electromagnetic beam.
That's right.
And lasers. And they say the only way you can run a powerful enough laser to take down an aircraft or maybe a missile, it would have to be, huge blocks. Blocks long. And some of the things I've seen, Now I can't say exactly, okay, because then I'd be in breach of a government contract. But take it from me, they're getting this technology from someplace.
All right. Even though you can't give us precise details,
yes,
you saw particle beam weapons, that sort of thing.
At least that's what I thought they was. I mean, you take something 100 yards down the range and you point a box at it, hit a button, and it explodes, okay?
And just where do you think this technology came from?
Well, I'm with you now. I believe that there are a lot of UFOs, ETs, whatever you want to call them. Okay? I mean, I've seen some weird stuff in my life.
You're not necessarily with me because I didn't say that's where I was. I said that's what a lot of people believe.
Well,
that is an important distinction. Okay. And I think it's indeed possible. Now, as you may have heard, I had my own sighting of a triangular craft that came 150 feet over my head. Just on a night like this, when the moon was just about full, blotted out the moon, stars. This was a craft that defied gravity, without question. And so either we have many generations of aircraft development that we know nothing about. That's a big story if we have anti-gravity.
Anti-gravity, yeah.
Or it was one of theirs.
I'm betting that it's one of theirs, because I've seen a ship something like you was talking about. I drive a truck at night, which is how I ended up listening to you.
All right, and that's also how you saw it, because most people, do you know most people never look up?
Well, when you drive at night, you tend to look at the stars quite a bit.
That's right.
And I was watching this light. I just figured it was a regular airplane, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, unless we have figured out a way to make the G-forces negligible or the laws of physics not apply, it was going in a straight line and immediately did a 90-degree turn and was going in 90 degrees.
You know what that would do to a human being?
Yeah.
Be jellified.
That's it.
All right. Thank you very much, my friend. Take care. East of the Rockies, you're on the air. Hi.
Hey.
Hey.
I tell you.
You're going to have to speak up a little louder.
Okay, how's this here, sir?
Much better. Thank you. Where are you?
I'm not going to give my location.
All right.
But I will give you a number.
A number?
Mm-hmm.
You mean we would know you by a number? You don't mean your phone number?
No.
Okay, give me a number. We'll call you by number.
27.
27. Number 20. I beg your pardon?
27. 82 D4.
2782 D4.
Yes, sir.
That's a long name. 2782 D4. All right, 2782 D4. What's your story?
I am 13 years old.
13 years old?
Mm-hmm.
You're telling me the government employs people 13 years old?
Mm-hmm, because we're the new people.
The new people?
And they teach us early. Basically, to go out and kill and destroy.
The government is teaching 13-year-olds to kill and destroy?
You betcha.
Well, now that I ponder recent headlines, that might make some perverted sense. Now, Freedom Ridge is an area that overlooks Area 51.
Yes.
So you were having a keg party? which means you had a bunch of beer up there, right?
A whole lot of beer.
A whole lot of beer.
Yes.
So you were totally scorched on Freedom Ridge above Area 51. Now, right away, you know this is a bad mix. Right?
Not at the time I didn't, but I do now.
And so what precisely occurred?
Well, a bunch of my friends were, like, passed out, and I was still awake, so I decided to take a walk. And I kind of, in a sense, crossed over into Area 51.
You kind of crossed over into Area 51?
Yeah, I kind of stumbled over the border.
You stumbled into Area 51?
Yes.
You staggered into Area 51?
Yes, you can say that.
I just did. And they, no doubt, came and collected your butt?
Yes.
And then what?
Then they took me to the base.
To the base?
Yes.
Now, you see, normally, most people arrested at the perimeter or inside Area 51 are turned over to the local sheriff there and thrown in the county pokey, but you were taken to inside the area itself.
Yes, I was.
Did you happen to see anything unusual while you were there?
No, they had a hood over my head.
A hood?
Yes, so I couldn't see anything.
Were you allowed one phone call?
No.
No phone
They told me I had no rights, that I was on protected ground, and my rights not matter to them.
So the Constitution ends where the Area 51 gate begins?
Yes.
Well, in your condition, you probably couldn't argue very hard, so what did they do with you?
Well, I remember driving through the desert because it was bumpy and stuff.
It would be bumpy.
Yes, and then we hit a paved road, and it was real smooth. Then I remember them dragging me out and taking me down several flights of stairs.
Yes.
And I was taken into a room, no windows, nothing. This is a single desk and 2 chairs. And there was 2 guards at the door, 2 at the back of the room,
yes,
and 2 behind me.
Right.
And there was a man, I don't know if he was like in charge of everything there, but he was asking me questions, why I was there, who I worked for, and all this.
Who you worked for?
Yes.
And did you tell him, look, we just were having a kegger up here?
I guess he got the general picture when I, like, breathed on him. I bet he could get drunk off my breath.
Threw chunks all over his floor?
No.
You prove it? No?
They kept me there for about 3 days.
3 days?
Yes. They took me down to the sick bay.
Well, all right, that follows. But, I mean, surely you were cured of whatever ailed you in at least 24 hours. Why didn't they release you? And what happened during the next 2 days?
They interrogated me some more.
Now, that's amazing. And then finally, what did they do? Put you in a vehicle and drive you out to the perimeter and say, get out of here?
Yes. And once they did that, they told me never to say anything about this again.
And so, of course, now calling a national talk show, you're keeping that promise.
Oh, yeah.
Well, by the way, were there any threats? In other words, if you talked about this whole thing, did they threaten you?
No, they said, you better not talk about this, because this is a big desert.
I know it is a big desert. All right, thank you very much. There you have it. That's what can happen. There's a little example for you. If you do happen to stumble in any condition into Area 51, people will call me frequently asking about Area 51 and whether they should try and breach security up there and go see what they can see. And I tell them no. You know, you will definitely get arrested or worse. And I would imagine under severe circumstances, they probably have the old James Bond license to kill. West of the Rockies, you are on the air. Good morning.
Hello, Art.
Hello there.
Just a good topic you got on here tonight.
Well, it's different. Can you add to it?
Oh, pretty good. I'm in Seattle.
Yes.
And I've been in and out of Edwards and Palmdale since 1967 with many of the companies that work in those locations.
Oh, there's a lot that goes on at Edwards.
Oh, yeah.
And Palmdale.
Well, in 1989 and 90, I worked on that airplane that came out of Palmdale, which they only built 22 of.
Really?
Yeah.
What kind of airplane, sir?
The one that radar can't see and it's supposed to be invisible.
Well, you mean the stealth?
Yeah. Are you familiar with composite structures?
I certainly am. Composite materials.
Together?
Yeah, composite materials that don't reflect radar signals, or if they do, they reflect them away from the point of origin.
Correct.
Sure, I know something about that.
On the B-2, when they put the wings to the fuselage, they have these gaps between the composite, there's regular airspace, which they have to fill to get the radar signature out.
Right.
In case it's infiltrated. Well, they were making these titanium shims to put in there, and we thought that the shims were just regular, normal grade titanium. And after we did some of our own little testing on the bits and pieces that were laying around,
yes,
we found out that it was a aluminum titanium composite.
Really?
Yeah, which really to this day I don't think even exists.
Aluminum titanium.
Aluminum titanium composite. That's those two metals. But here was the clinker. The bonding agent was a silk fabric, which you couldn't cut with a razor knife. It would actually dull a razor knife. You couldn't drill a hole in it.
You saw all this with your very two eyes, right?
Yeah, I had the clearance. I mean, I was eligible to see it.
How are you able to now safely talk about it without fear of, Men in Black or whatever?
I'll take my chances, but I'm pretty certain that your phone is secure tonight. And it's
secure.
They can't do any tracing. And I'm pretty sure over the years my phone's been bugged because of all the projects that I worked on that were in the black world.
Why have you decided to talk about this? I mean, particularly about specific composites. You're saying things I've never heard before.
Well, you're talking about Area 51, and everybody knows what goes on over there. And in my world, Area 51 doesn't exist or never existed. And
in my world, it's just over the mountain to the...
I know exactly where you are, and I know in relationship to Area 51 is.
Yes.
In your world, it exists. In my world, I don't know what you're talking about.
I see.
But this composite material came from Area 51. They were the only people who could work it. They were the only ones who could build it. And it was kept under armed guard when it traveled between the two places.
I know an attorney... this is something that eventually is going to be public, if it is not already, and it is to some degree, who is representing a number of workers at Area 51 who worked with very exotic materials and claim they got sick. Now, the government is trying very hard not to allow this lawsuit to proceed because it would open up a can of alien worms, or worse, at Area 51. Are you aware of that?
Well, I heard of it. NPR ran a series on that not too long ago.
Are you at all concerned that you might have been exposed to something that might make you sick?
Well, over the years, I probably have exposed some exotic stuff, but it's nothing. I'm still alive today, and I'm not sick, so I'm not going to worry about it.
One leg has not become shorter than the other or something?
If you keep your mouth shut, you play by their rules, you get to fly some of the strangest airplanes in the world. Work on them, look at them.
Did you get... No, wait a minute. Did you ever get to actually fly?
Well, I'm a licensed pilot,
and
we've talked before on that topic. Yes, there are some airplanes that have been flown that radar can't even see.
And you have flown in them?
Yeah. You're aware of that stuff.
What was it? Of course I am. What was it?
Well, I'll tell you. Give you an example. It happened in the summer of '90.
Okay.
1990. We were taking off from Palmdale. Okay.
Yes.
We had two F-15s on our wingtips, and the tower cleared the two F-15s to take off. They couldn't see us. And when we were airborne, we were joined by something else and something else. And
something else and something else.
And something else.
Undescribed?
Undescribed. And we headed out over the Pacific. Okay?
Okay.
When we got 200 miles off Russian aircraft met us because they knew we were coming.
Russian aircraft?
Russian aircraft knew we were coming. Okay?
Now that implies, wait a minute, that's 1990. That implies cooperation between the U.S. and the and Russia. The Soviet.
There was no cooperation. They were just dogging us to see what we were flying. They knew the two F-18s and these two other aircraft and the 14s had left, and they just met up because they knew what the procedures were.
What's it like riding in an aircraft like that?
I've flown so many, Art, it's just like riding in another airplane. And there's just some weird stuff out there.
Mm-hmm. Well,
one of these days, maybe it'll all come to light.
Perhaps so. One of these days, maybe it will. All right, thanks a million.
No problem, Art.
You take care. That was as much as I could drag out of him. There is an interesting phenomenon that occurs here where I am in the desert. Now, to get my signal from here to there to you, I have what's called a KU band uplink. And we fire a very, or a relatively narrow signal from my home to GE1, General Electric Satellite, that sits up there in geosynchronous orbit, 22,300 miles above Earth. And so obviously we have a signal going from here to there. We transmit a signal from my home. And we also have an awful lot of overflights here of helicopters of the black variety, of fighter aircraft that will scream over the house occasionally at a low altitude. And I have been told by more than one person that my KU band transmitter turns on their threat receivers. Now, obviously we're over friendly territory here, but turning on threat receivers of F-15s and so forth has always worried me a little bit because of some sort of automatic response, some sort of harm missile coming down my throat. I've always worried about that just a little. On the first-time caller line, you're on the air. Hello.
Hello, I'm on the air?
You are on the air.
Is this whine coming from your end or my end?
I beg your pardon?
Do you hear high-pitched whine on your end?
I do hear a high-pitched whine, yes.
I think I'm being traced up front, okay?
Look, you've got to always assume it's possible.
What?
That it's possible that you're being traced.
I'm not transmitting anything on this end.
Well, I'm certainly not on this end, so anyway, say what you want to say quick so you can't get...
All right, real quick before they shut me up, okay? The rays, best theory is they originate here on Earth around the end of the Jurassic period. There's a fairly advanced civilization of humans, close enough to humans to breed, but the offspring is usually sterile. And they was particularly made to go out to planets, explore, and then come back, because nobody wanted to take a 200,000 year trip. And at the end of the Jurassic period, they started getting a little bit overpopulated.
Yes.
And started making some genetically engineering plants, specifically peanuts and other lettuces, began like that. And it spread further, and they started taking nitrogen out of the air, decreasing the atmospheric pressure.
Yes.
Which a lot of things called the dinosaurs started dying off. Then that did another thing with corn.
So you're saying the Greys, actually killed the dinosaurs?
Yes, because they're reducing the atmospheric pressure.
Well, I guess that would do it, wouldn't it?
Yes, a lot of the dinosaurs, if you look at the dinosaurs...
Well, listen, why are you worried they're tracing your call anyway?
What did you say?
I said, why are you worried they're tracing your call?
Well, I got the whine right here on my line.
I know, but I mean, why are you worried?
Well...
You haven't said anything yet that they would care about. We'll be right back. This frequently, but let me read you yet another fax I have, and I will try making a call, all right? Art, I worked at Area 51 for 15 years and would like to talk to you about what really went on there. I worked in base ops. I'm also involved in the class action suit against the government. I can be reached tonight at the phone. It gives me a number, which, by the way, is a Nevada number, a work number. Please, he says, don't give out my number, which I certainly will not do. But I am now going to try to place a call to this gentleman, and we'll see if there's anything to it. Nothing like radio on the fly, huh? Now let's see if we can get him. Hold on here. We'll try. Anything's worth a shot here. This may go nowhere at all, but his name is Fred, or he calls himself Fred. We'll see if he's really at the number he suggests he's at.
ABC?
Hello there.
Yeah?
Hello, ABC. Fred?
Yep.
This is Art Bell.
How you doing, sir?
Well, I'm doing just fine. I got a fax from you that says you worked at Area 51 for 15 years?
That's correct. So, what can I help you out with, sir? I'll be the first to sort of contradict.
All right, let me start out by asking you, on your fax, and when you just now answered the phone, you said ABC.
Yeah, please, we need to not discuss anything further about trying to identify me by where I was, all right?
All right.
Yeah, this is another place I'm at now, so
that's fine.
Yeah.
All right, let's discuss your 15 years at Area 51.
Mm-hmm.
I have no idea what you can and can't tell us, so I'll probe and you tell me when you can't answer.
Sure.
What kind of work did you do?
I was involved in the general day-to-day operations through the base ops, scheduling, things of that nature.
Really?
Yeah. Qualifying for using the airspace of the box, of course, Nellis Air Force Base. If some of the people don't really notice about that, was we actually controlled the airspace on the whole range.
Oh, I'm well aware of that. How much airspace actually is controlled above Area 51?
You know, that's difficult to say, but you know, the box we're talking about was 10 miles by 10 miles.
Anybody familiar with aeronautic charts knows that is forbidden airspace.
Yes, so that's a fact. Yeah, anyway, when we took you have to understand, we controlled the box. We allowed Nellis to use the range. When we were in the box, Nellis was off the range. When we were off the box, then Nellis could use the range for their red flag, things of that nature.
Okay.
And
during the years that you were at Area 51, did you see anything that you had no rational explanation for, or that did not make sense in terms of technology that we would have developed?
Well, you know, I haven't been involved in some of the development of some of the projects that came out of there, so I'm not at liberty to discuss those. But nonetheless, there is a big lag time before something goes white world and when it's in development, and there's a big lag time in between the things that are spec'd out or scaled out and developed between the time that they even go from being scaled to full production, and then of course when they go from black to gray or black to white world. There's a lot of time involved there, so I speculate that anything that I saw during the 80s, of course, had some time on it as far as development was concerned.
Okay, well, we know, for example, the F-117 Stealth was developed there and came out and then went gray and then went white, and we all know about the F-117, saw it fly in Iraq and all the rest of it.
Yeah.
But that was a long time ago.
Oh, yeah.
Now, what would you imagine? Maybe we can talk about this hypothetically. What would you imagine would be several generations down line from the F-117?
Well, you know, there was different prototypes involved and everything out there, but none of them as mysterious as the things that are discussed on your program. I'm here to say that there wasn't a building, a facility that was there that wasn't out of my control, and that there was nothing mysterious about what went on there.
Then why are there things that you cannot talk about?
Oh, because they're classified military hardware, and they can't be discussed. It's that simple. It's It's just like before the 117 went white, it was not allowed to be discussed. There's nothing extraterrestrial or anything about the development of that airplane.
I understand.
Yeah.
Are there areas of within Area 51 that are underground?
No, absolutely not. There was one facility, a small bunker out there about as big as a basketball court, if that, and it was only underground to protect the instrumentation from RF interference.
Are there 3 large hangars at Area 51?
There's one huge hangar. There are a couple other small ones there, smaller than that, but generally speaking, the hangars are nothing bigger than what you could put a average jet fighter in, or something of that size.
All right. You're in Las Vegas, just over the hill from me. You know exactly where I am in Pahrump, right?
Oh, exactly.
Well, as we look over the hills toward Area 51 on many, many nights, we see, and it's well documented by Japanese camera crews, American camera crews, amateurs, things that rise vertically and do dances in the sky that just simply are not done by any conventional aircraft we know about.
Yeah. Well, I'm here to tell you one thing. I've never in my life seen a vehicle which I considered otherworldly or anything like that until I did work up there. But during that particular time, there were 4 of us that were standing outside, and we actually saw 5 aircraft that looked like, or not aircraft, but say things like a star, okay, in the sky.
Like a star.
Like a star, but it was at sundown. And I figured, well, maybe this might be a satellite, for instance. But there were 5 of them, and they were sort of 3 of them were abreast, 2 of them were trailing, and they went from horizon to, say, mid-horizon or mid-vertical sky in about, maybe 15 to 20 seconds. And then we were looking at it and saying, boy, this is really something, and we've never seen anything quite like 5 satellites grouped like this. And then the 2 that were trailing did a 90-degree and went to the east.
Satellites don't do that.
And then the other 3 went directly over the southern horizon, and we all looked at each other, so we happened to have radio contact with the operations white room up there, and we contacted them and asked them to check the scope, see if anything was up, and there was nothing on the scope, so we looked at each other and said, well, that's kind of amazing. But anyway, what happened was about 30 seconds later, the 3 that went all over the south horizon came directly back and went to the north horizon, and they did that in about, like I say, 30 seconds, horizon to horizon. Absolutely no sound. Of course, the satellites don't do that either. So
they do not.
That was a very unusual thing I saw out of my entire 15 years of being there, and the rest of the stuff I would have to say was just highly classified military projects that needn't to be discussed in this forum. But there were absolutely no otherworldly.
Were you required when you left your employment there to sign?
Oh yes, a debriefing statement.
A debriefing statement, and were you to violate that?
Would I or have I?
No. I said, were you to violate it? To finish the sentence, what would be the repercussions?
I think it was a 10-year, 10,000, something like that was the bottom line on it. Yeah, 10 years in jail, $10,000 fine max for divulging things like that.
I'm the archaeologist who slipped into Area 51 last year.
You're the archaeologist who's...
Yes. I don't know, maybe I don't quite meet the criteria. I'm not a...
Oh, yes, you do. If you slipped into Area 51, you definitely meet the criteria.
Well, I hiked in there for 100 miles. I was in there over a week. Was so far into Area 51 I could actually see out the other side. In fact, contemplated doing so, south to north. And I will say this, it was the mind-boggling thing I ever did in my entire life.
Look, why, first of all, did you decide as an archaeologist, what was of interest in Area 51?
I was following the Death Valley 49ers, a wagon train that got lost back in 1849. And
no kidding.
Yeah, they left. They took a shortcut, ill-fated shortcut, as it turned out, from the Utah-Nevada border, and as fate would have it, of course, they went directly right through the center. What, of course, legions of UFO people believe is Area 51, and.
So you were simply following their trail, and the trail led through Area 51.
That's correct. And I pleaded with the Air Force for several years to allow my team access to several archaeological sites. One, of course, is Papoose Lake. That's
Papoose Lake, yes.
Critical archaeologically, because that was the last campground of the 49ers where their cohesion failed there, and they went different directions in an attempt to escape the desert. And there are 7 known rock inscriptions from that wagon train. One of them, and out of the 7, for instance, 5 are well documented. The 6th I discovered myself near the Utah-Nevada border. The 7th lies deep in what's called Nye Canyon, which is just above Papoose Lake. Mm-hmm. There's an old photograph of it that I carried in there, taken in the 30s before they closed the area off, of course.
Okay, so obviously you were refused permission a number of times, and then at some point you decided, to hell with them, you're going in anyway?
I cast reason aside, and I admit it, and but I'm not sorry I did it. I'm sorry I didn't find the inscription. I did find evidence of the wagon train, however, and I did get within a mile of the lake bed at Papoose Lake.
Oh, my.
Now, there's no known photograph, of course, of Papoose Lake, except taken from Mount Sterling, I believe, 50-some miles away.
Yes.
There's computer-generated photographs, of course.
Now, did you have a camera with you?
Yes, I did. And I've got magnificent color photographs of this place, and I don't believe, I've been accused by people that have done a disservice to my country, that I've
what have you done?
What security?
What have you done with these photographs, sir?
I have done nothing with it. I intend, and I have a book proposal with the Jeff Herman Agency in New York. The book will be called Forbidden Journey, and I hope to include those photographs, but I will not do so, until I am assured that they will not, and I don't believe they will show anything that would, compromise national security.
Well, look, without describing specifically what's in the photographs.
It's a magnificent, clear photograph of Papoose Lake taken in the daytime. Now, in the daytime, and I had a powerful set of binoculars.
Yes.
It looked like a dry lake bed to me, nothing else.
Well, that's what it is.
At night, it was a different story.
What did you see?
I could clearly see what were security lights on the perimeters, and I could see what appeared to be lights that opened and closed near the center of the lake.
Oh my!
What was that? What, I don't know. But during the daytime now, I got, like I said, within a mile of the lake bed, and I was getting a little bit concerned there because I wasn't so concerned about ground security, but airborne would have found me in a heartbeat because of vegetation.
Absolutely.
Yeah, well, I was having my lunch, and this is the farthest north I intended to go. I wanted to backtrack in the Nye Canyon. I was having my lunch in a little, a wadi, a little tiny wash, really. Mm-hmm. Apples and peanuts, and I felt vibration, and I know I wasn't imagining it because there were rivulets of sand coming down just on the other side of this little wash, and I could see them coming down.
Oh, you didn't imagine it.
And I thought, an earthquake. Well, then I realized, no, this is not an earthquake. It continued and continued for maybe nearly 2 minutes. It's something they're testing, either directly underground, or I was feeling vibrations completely from Groom Lake. I don't know. But it was just a mind-boggling...
Did you see any, particularly at night, did you see any lights rising above the desert floor?
No. I saw nothing hovering. I didn't see anything that I would justifiably say that I could explain as as unexplainable.
Yeah, let me tell you a very interesting story and see if this resonates, good word, with you. I have a very good friend who lives on the other side of the valley, much closer to Area 51. In fact...
Rachel?
Yeah, that's right. In fact, he works there, and I will not identify him behind that. This friend of mine built a porch. He's got a mobile home on the other side of the valley. He built a porch, and he sunk 2x4s or better into the ground, to support the porch, right? And he began to hear these and feel these strange vibrations at night, so strong, that, believe me, it killed him to do it. He ended up tearing the porch down to stop the vibrations because he couldn't sleep at night.
No kidding.
Yeah, so there's something going on out there underground. There's no question about that. Now, so you spent exactly how much time in Area 51?
I was in there a week.
Oh, boy, talk about forbidden archaeology.
Oh, I'll tell you right now, Art. I have good backcountry skills, but I was very, very lucky. Anyone who's contemplating storming the ramparts of Area 51, think again.
Yep.
These guys are in there with weapons of war, and they will, and they can kill you. And I felt just something about the way I saw many guards, and I saw them, most of them, fortunately, from a distance, although not always. Something about the way they carried themselves. I think if they'd have caught me in there, they'd lit me up like a Roman candle.
I understand. Now, I want to try something out on you. You have these remarkably clear photographs.
Yes.
I understand you're going to write a book, publish a book. And most people who write books and publish books want publicity to sell their books, yes?
Sure.
So, would it not be advantageous to you to take one of the more intriguing photographs and send it to somebody like me, who would then interview you when your book comes out?
Well, you certainly reach a large market. Congratulations on your Newsweek article. You're up so late. I never catch you, but I read Newsweek and I saw your article in there, and you reach 10 million people. That's an interesting point.
It is, yes, it is. And so I'm making you an offer. I'm trying to make you a deal here. I'm trying to get a photograph is what I'm trying to do. But were you to send me one, why, I could post that on the website. Then when the appropriate moment came, I could do an interview with you, and who knows how many books you'd sell? Probably many.
Well, really, my picture is a clear photograph of Papoose Lake. It's a dry lake bed. It looks pretty much like the computerized photograph. I'm not...
I know, but there are not existing, as you pointed out, there are not existing clear photographs.
That's right. Well, my idea was, I'll print the book, and then the photographs will be in the book, and they'll just, that'll sell the book. But you got a good point there.
I know I do. Why do you think I made the offer?
Well, let me seriously consider that.
All right, so you've got my address. You seriously consider it, and I'll look for it, all right?
What is your address?
You want my address?
Mm-hmm.
It's Art Bell, P.O. Box 4755 in Pahrump. That's P-A-H.
Yeah, no, I'll spell it.
R-U-M-P. Okay, good. Nevada, zip code 89041. -4755. Now listen, my mail comes in by the bin. I get bins of mail.
Okay.
So take a magic marker and write on the outside of whatever you send me, forbidden archaeology.
Maybe I ought to just send you the book proposal. It's called Forbidden Journey. That'd be Forbidden Archaeology.
Yeah, that's right. That'll be my key. That'll be our secret.
And I want you to know that my interest, of course, is archaeological. I would love to see these 49ers brought to the fore, as they should be. They're as relevant a group as the Donner Party.
No, I understand. And I understand why you were there.
Really, if the Air Force would allow me, I pleaded with them. I had a congressman intercede on my behalf. The answer was not no, Art. It was no. I pleaded with them. I had a congressman intercede on my behalf. The answer was not no, Art. It was no, hell no. Over telephone. I offered them, they could blindfold me, escort me. I wasn't asking for that much, and it just kind of burned me. I mean, this is
sort of like
my land, just like it's your land.
Well, right now it's their land, so it was not only no, but hell no.
No, yes, and that's the exact conversation, too.
I appreciate the call, sir.
You bet.
Take care. East of the Rockies, you're on the air. Good morning.
Well, a pleasant good morning to you.
Where are you?
Oklahoma,
huh?
Yes, sir.
All right.
That's something for your consideration.
Okay.
In the past, you have shared with us listeners, and you and I discussed this one night over the air, if some really big catastrophe should happen, say, coming in from outer space.
Yes.
That you'd do as Paul Harvey and make a traveling mic and go out.
I absolutely would. As a matter of fact, I should tell you that I now have the microphone to do that. I've got a permanent outside microphone that I'm about to mount. It was sent to me by some very nice listener, a very professional outfit. But yes, in other words, if an asteroid was coming in or something, sure, what the hell? I'd go outside, take the microphone, and talk that sucker in. Why not?
Well, here's something for you to consider. Next Thursday morning, the moon is going to occult Saturn.
Which means?
Which means it's going to pass in front of Saturn.
Okay. So far, that's not catastrophic.
No.
I hope.
Say a tune-up. Check your system out. It is quite an impressive sight.
You suggest that I would go out. Oh, how impressive. Those Saturn, you've got to have a good telescope to see that.
No. You can see it through binoculars. It doesn't. Now, when the moon occults a star, the star like winks out. I mean, it just...
I'm not sure that's dramatic enough to justify going outside and